Hey friends, in this video, I'm going to show you the things I bought at the Florida Stationery Fest. It was the first annual, and I went yesterday, which is Friday. Today is Saturday. It's still on today and tomorrow, but I'm already home. And yeah, no real intro other than to say, my name is Andrea. This is Journals for Breakfast. You are so welcome here. Let's take a look at what I picked up at the show. So here is the overview of the haul. This is everything that I bought, and I'm going to go through it item by item with you and share with you the maker or the seller, and I will put links in the description, and I'll be popping in photos of each of the booths where I purchased something throughout this video as well. If you want to stop and screenshot those for any reason, you're welcome to. Okay, so it is currently Saturday, May 30th, and Florida Stationery Fest is underway. I went yesterday, Friday, May 29th, and it goes through tomorrow, Sunday, May 30th. 31st? Did I just say today's the 30th? Yep. So the 31st. 29 through 31. As I understand it, this is the very first year that they've done a Florida Stationery Fest, and it was wonderful. I'm going to tell you more about that as we go through the stuff. But if you're just here to see what I picked up, I got some stuff from her. I'll show you that. Let's just get right into it. I will say that one of my big focal points at the festival was things that, one, I cannot find locally. I do not have a art supply store here, not a real one, quote unquote real. You know, I have craft stores, big box craft stores. So I was going to be looking for art supplies, but also papers that my only hope for getting a hold of are if I order them from companies online, and they often come with pretty legit shipping issues, costs, etc. So that was going to be my focus. So let's start right here with the paper that I picked up, which is I got Tomoe River loose sheets A5. The color is white. My feeling about the loose sheet option is that this will make lovely stationery. I haven't bought real stationery for writing letters in a long time, because I wasn't really writing letters, but I am doing more of that now. And I've discovered when I've tried to write my pen pal that I don't really have great paper for that. I would love to just start collecting some actual letter writing stationery, but I started here because I know this will work really well with my fountain pen ink, and I kind of like to make my own stationery. So I'll do a little collage work or maybe a little watercolor work in the corners and kind of create my own. So I just thought that was a really nice blank canvas. So Tomoe River loose sheets, 100 sheets of Tomoe River paper. So really excited about that. The same vendor had this lovely A5 blank. And again, these are products that I spot on Etsy shops, and I also can find online with pretty legit shipping. It's made in Japan, and I wanted an A5 just nice blank notebook to go in my A5, excuse me, where I keep my Hobonichi cousin. So all that I have in this folder right now is this, my cousin, which you guys have seen here many times. Stationery show, I need to fill that in. And I love this calendar. I'm so happy to be back into the world of Hobonichi. I did an April start this year because I thought I was going to go without and realized I missed it too much. Thank goodness they have an April start. So that's what's in here is my cousin, and I cover the cover. Yeah, I collage the cover. And then I have this Ziploc bag, zip top 2-piece. It's got place for photos or cards, and then it's got a pocket for ephemera and things like that. And I've been wanting to put a notebook in here, but I don't have any A5 notebooks that I love. So I'm glad I held out because now I have one that I do love, and that will now go in here. So I'll have a blank notebook as along with my calendar, and that's really what this setup has been needing. This cover is from Windrose Custom Goods. I'll link her below. She's out of North Carolina, and she is a woman-owned family small business, so feel free to support if you would like. She happens to be also who's responsible for the cover of my, ooh, excuse me, of my passport. That's also Windrose Custom Goods. Kind of see her embossing back there. Yeah, and you can customize your internal, you know, if you want pockets like I have over here, if you want a pen loop, if you want a big pocket, no pockets, you can kind of do it however you like. Same with these large ones. And I got my husband this same cover as well. This one I had monogrammed with J4B, Journals for Breakfast. So anyway, back to the show. So next up from the same vendor is this beauty. And I have been holding out for a really good quality A4. This has a nice hard plastic cover to it, which will be nice when I go to do a fold around and write, right? It's going to give me a lot of stability behind it. It's got a cover page. I'm not sure what this is made out of, but it gives you the information. Oh, I just picked up my, that was clunky, sorry. Gives you the information of this notebook. However, it's all in Japanese. So I just have to figure out this notebook for myself. It is graph paper. I go for dot grid or graph, overruled almost always. And it has a little space here where you can write in, oh, I'm not in the camera, where you can write in the date. And then it has a perforated edge so you can pull your pages out and leave a nice clean edge on them. So very cool. Why did I want this gigantic, really nice paper notebook? Because I have a gigantic planner this year. This is my A4, and this leather cover is by Sandy by the Lakeside. I will link her below. I've linked her in a billion videos. Her leather goods are fantastic also. They're just a really, really just interesting quality. They are so soft and smooth. They're really smooth. So I got her basic A4 cover. It doesn't have any pockets. This was her first release of this. So she wasn't doing customizations. I don't know if she will, but I assure you it is such a fantastic leather. It's such a great book. And in this, I have my Paper Republic 2026 calendar, or I guess planner, I should say. And this is what this looks like inside if you want to know. Let me show you a blank page so you know what I actually work with compared to what I do to it. So here's a pretty blank. Here's a blank page. So you have, on one side, you have the week, Monday through Saturday, Sunday, just blank lines. And then on this side, you have a dot grid blank page. You can do what you want with. So here's a good example of what I tend to do with it. I often break the day through the week into three parts, kind of morning, afternoon, and evening. Keep a track of what's going on for dinner or pre-planned dinners here so I know how to shop. And then over here, I do things like this week's focus, projects, some health goals, some little notes about a few things I need to get done. You know, I wanted to YouTube something, write something, and get some social time in. So I just use that big blank page, however suits me in the moment. This week it was big projects and then the little things, right? So yeah, I just change it up. This week was just a brain dump. I just went nuts writing stuff down. It was really fun. So yeah, I've liked this Paper Republic, but I wanted a notebook in this, just like with my Hobonichi cousin. I want a planner and a notebook. And why do I have a Hobonichi cousin and a Paper Republic? Because this is so big that this stays on my desk here. This is my desk planner. And I do take this out to the couch sometimes, which is why I wanted a notebook clipped into that, because now I can do some notes and stuff in here when my weekly page just has gotten too full too quickly. But this is a desk, and then my A5 cousin that can go with me. So that's why I have two planners. But if you're here, I'm guessing you know exactly why I have more than one planner, don't we all? That's who we are. Okay, what's in front of me is a piece that I got at the show, and I'm putting the photo of this vendor up as well. And he was explaining to me, okay, what is this? First of all, it's a writing board. So when you come in with your beautiful paper and go to write a note to somebody, you have something to lean on. These tables that I'm working off of are IKEA kitchen tables. They're wooden, but they leave bumpily little marks and stuff. They're really hard to write on. You always have to get some paper behind your paper. The other thing is that I work on a lap desk out at the couch, and the cover for that, the top of that is plastic. And so that's not a wonderful writing surface either. So when I saw this, I went bananas. I thought this is exactly right up my alley, exactly what I need. My writing desk is also wooden. And on top of being wooden, it is old, so it's got all kind of crevices and fissures all over the top of it. And so yeah, again, writing, the pen will catch in those, right, and throw your handwriting, make a mark, etc. So this one has a place to hold the paper down, top and bottom. So if you wanted to slide paper in, or if you were doing a couple of things like I always am, I could have something here and something sticking out here and be writing on both. I am in love with this. Anyway, the owner was telling me that this is a composite of mostly reused scrap leather. So all the leather products that they make, Italian leather, they take all those scraps and they make a like puree out of them, and then they throw in a tiny hint of rubber, and that allows them, when they go to heat press this and shape it into it, get this just incredibly smooth surface. Now, like for example, this is leather, but if I start writing on this consistently, I'm going to start driving grooves into it, right? So yes, it's smooth. It would actually be nice to write, put a piece of paper on this and write, but that will come through the paper into that leather, and I don't want to do that to that. But also, by adding the rubber here, that won't happen. We won't get those permanent indentions into this writing pad. I am super excited about this purchase. I know it seems so simple, but it is without a doubt probably my win for the show, meaning something that I didn't anticipate finding and spoke so immediately to a very clear need that I have. It feels like such a smart purchase. So that is the writing pad. Okay, so next up, Do Not Microwave Crafts. She is lovely. And so here's her info. If you want to screenshot that, I'll link her below. And I'm putting in a photograph of her. She had some just really precious things, but what I was going crazy for, because it was on my actual list of things that I was looking for at this show, were stencils. And I bought stencils from two companies, so I'll show you the other as well. What I bought from Do Not Microwave Crafts. See the stars in several sizes. That is so good. Sue and I both were, my friend Sue went with me. We were both looking for star stencils. We both agreed that our ability to draw a star is not good. Have you ever drawn a star? I mean, I draw a lot of things, as you know. My stars are terrible, so I use a stencil for them, and the stencil that I have is too small. So I wanted something with more sizes. So that's perfect. And then she does letters and numbers. I did the calligraphy in medium, in uppercase, and lowercase lettering. So I'm super excited about those. And you can see the size of them. These are the size of a maybe an ATC card. These will definitely fit in my passport if I wanted to put them there. But they're also just small enough that they're going to be very convenient to have in my planners or in my planner supply bag. So I'm really excited about that. And then I got numbers, also in calligraphy and in the medium. It's a nice size for planners. So Do Not Microwave Crafts. Stencils, they were on my list. Good to go. Okay, next up, more stencils. This is from Creative Planner Vibes. And I'm going to pull, and then you can see this is a multi. So it's got the scalloped edge and a straight edge. That's so handy. Her focus is on bullet journaling stencils. See the shapes? You can really see them in that light. That's coming out really well. So she's got a few stars right here. Yay. And then she's got all kinds of different size boxes, dots, arrows, bullet points, check boxes, word bubbles, banners, all on this one little guy. And that's so handy. So I have a little one. I've showed it to you before here. Oh, it's in my reading journal. I don't have that over here. But this is a little bit bigger. That's really what I wanted, to just go up slightly. And so that was perfect for that. And then we're going to open this one because it's got her card in it. There you go. So here's a show special going on. If you want to screenshot this and scan, try to get that in there really clearly. There, that's pretty good. And I will link her below as well. And this little stencil is just smaller, but still the same idea. So this is going to be really handy in my cousin, and it will be handy in my passport as well. So those are those two. And my friend Sue bought me these as a little gift for driving. So that was super sweet of her. And then next up is Lauren Phelps Designs. Check out the washi. What I'm about to show you may seem like the most boring Stationery Fest purchase you can imagine, but I will tell you why I bought what I bought. This was on my list of things I'd be looking for at this show. Lauren Phelps. Let's get her barcode stuff up here. Here's what I bought. Gray grid. Black with scroll writing. White with mixed media writing. That's it. What on earth, of all the colors and all the stuff she offers, why these? Because believe it or not, these are hard to find. And my collage life is so big and so involved. As you know, my collage tends to be this just mess of stuff. See how this little pop of graphic kind of cools it down a little bit? It does to me. But they are hard to find. It is the first washi tape I ever ran out of was my black and white check. After that, I had a washi that looked like kind of ruled notebook paper. I ran out of that, and I have never been able to successfully replace those in a great way. I ordered some from Amazon, and they were, first of all, the roll ran out in seconds. There was just almost no tape on it, and it was see-through. So I think this might be that. Like it was just too transparent. But I've noticed that with my big clunky watercolor style, for some reason, when I put in something a bit graphic, even just holding that there, do you see what I'm saying? How that just sort of levels it out. I don't know why. So I put a little piece of like grid, and not at a funny angle, at the same line as the top and the bottom of the notebook, and it'll just soothe the whole wackiness out a little bit to me. And I love anything with this kind of scroll writing. I just like to pop that around. I'll see if I have any examples of that in here, but I was out a lot of this stuff for a while. See that one? That's got like the grid and a little bit of writing in that corner, and I just love that. Yeah, so that's what I got from Lauren Phelps, but you see from the photos, holy macaroni. So find her online if you are struggling to find stationery stuff for yourself at home or in your neck of the woods. She's got it. Whatever you're looking for, Lauren Phelps has it. So that's the Lauren Phelps purchases. Simple. And then we found a local artist, which was so exciting. This is Jennifer. She goes by Jen and Kana Art Studios. She is actually from St. Augustine, where I live. So I was really excited about that. And here were her products for the show, her specials, her pricing. This is such a gorgeous card. Everything she did was just 5-star quality. Including even this little information card. How beautiful is this? I will absolutely be putting this in my journals. And what I got from her was a roll of her washi. And I'm going to actually pull this out and show you her designs on this because it's absolutely, absolutely beautiful. Hang on. Okay, I'm going to show you some of her tape. We're going to go to a blank page in my sticker paper book. I'll put some washi down. Check these out. I mean, each one of these squares is artwork. These two down for you. Now remember, I tear. You may be offended by that because you like straight lines, but I do not like straight lines. I like torn lines. Okay, so check this out. Beautiful art. Beautiful art. She had several rolls. I want to say 5 design schemes to choose from, and I went with this one. Tear this out of here because I loved the shells and the birds. So these are kind of egrets or herons, one or the other, and then shells. That's one of the shells. Isn't that gorgeous? Can you see the color? So they're all like, each of these washi squares looks like a hand painted watercolor, which is, I guess, essentially what it is. She just gets them printed on washi. Let's do these two together. And she had all of her tapes in a book laid out so you could see what the roll repeated and what it looked like, which I thought was really cool. Look at those beautiful shells. So she has several designs. Please check her out. Local artist, and I think she's just doing beautiful work. She also has, like, you see how beautiful this card is? So she has bookmarks, postcards, stickers. So if you love this, but you're not a washi tape person, or this tape is too big for what you do with washi, you can get stickers of these images as well. So that's Kana Art Studios, and she is listed below. Okay, so Sam Flax was at this show. What I want to say is that I do not have a real art store in my area. And what I mean by that is I have craft, big box craft stores. I don't have true art supply stores near me. There was one in Jacksonville for years. They closed, I think, at least a year ago. And now the closest one to me is Sam Flax, and is on the other side of Orlando, which is about 2.5 hours from my front door. So we're looking at a 5-hour round tripper to pick up paint. It is tough situation for me. So when I heard that Sam Flax was going to be at this show, that is definitely where I intended to kind of spend my budget, because it's just art supplies that I need and love and cannot get a hold of easily. And I would much rather give it to a Florida company than give it to an online company, meaning a big box like Amazon is what I mean. If it's small owned online, I'm down with that too. Okay, so I got 2 things. Let's take these separately. The first thing is the Winsor Newton water brush pocket set. You can see the size of it. Let's put my passport here. Oops, sorry about that. Keep banging into stuff today. So smaller than my passport, travel size passport, traveler's company passport. I believe Sue bought the same set, to be honest with you. I'm going to open this up off camera and come right back. Okay. Yeah, I believe Sue bought the same exact set. So I have a Go to the Marsh travel like sketch setup, but to be honest with you, it doesn't have watercolors in it. I'll show you through this little photo montage here how I do my like nature sketching and watercolor. What I basically do is do a very light outline in pencil when I'm out at the marsh of what I want to paint. And then I come back to the house, and sometime, maybe that day, maybe over the next few days, I'll actually start the process of painting the idea from the marsh. So I don't paint in plein air, if you get what I mean there. But one, I would be interested in doing that. And 2, I wanted to try Winsor Newton. The only paints I've tried so far that are like high end, meaning I did not buy them for $5 for a strip at the dollar store, right? So I spent a little money, is Daniel Smith. I thought I had that box over here, but I've showed it to you before. Daniel Smith paints is what I have in my current watercolor palette. Here it is. And I upgraded to those after I had been painting for about a year using Tube Paints Master's Touch, which is the house brand for Hobby Lobby. So very cheap paints. I upgraded to this tube set. Okay. And now I want to, and I love them, by the way. If you want to go Daniel Smith, go Daniel Smith. That set is fantastic. I wanted to try the little bricks, not the tubes, and I wanted to try Winsor and Newton. I have discovered that our Michaels does have Winsor and Newton tubes. So that was interesting for me to find out. But at Sam Flax, they had this lovely palette. It's travel size, so it has a collapsible water brush. I don't know if I can open this on here, but I'm going to need something to open this. But there's the tip in there. You fill this with water, screw the tip back on, and then you have a water brush. So you don't need to necessarily bring a water source with you. And then, of course, there's a palette on the lid. You guys will see this quite a bit more as I get into it. I'm not using this exclusively for travel or for marsh, like on plein air paintings. I will be using this all the time, but I will give you guys the heads up when I get these unwrapped and do a little swatch of them first. And then you guys will see this in plenty of videos down the road. But this was definitely part of my original budget and plan, was good paints, either refills for my Daniel Smith for ones that are running low or I'm out of, or a new set of something. And sure enough, they had the new set of something. So Winsor & Newton, I'm really excited about this little palette. So there's that. And then the other thing I got at Sam Flax was this urban sketching set, Japanese edition from Tombow. Now, I love Tombow pens. I have one right here. I use Tombows for almost everything when it comes to basic journal writing. I've gotten into fountain pens, as you know, but if I'm just doing jotted down to-do lists, little quick things, that Tombow has been with me for a long time. So I trust the brand was my point, and this felt like a really fun kit. So here's what's in it. Let's see if we can get that in focus. There we go. So brush pens, drawing pen, color pencil, graph mechanical pencil, water brush with a medium tip. So nice little set, right? So I was excited about this. Seemed like a really reasonable price. It was $30. Isn't that nice? List price $32, their price $29. I loved the 10, obviously, and it's hinged, so I don't have to worry about losing the lid. So I'll get this opened up off camera and we'll come back in. Okay, so I just pulled that little band off of there, and I will keep this. I might even keep it in here, so I kind of remember how the set came, etc. And then when you open it up, look at that. How cool is that? What great colors too. So yeah, I'm really excited to try all of these out. This is their brush pen. Yeah, pretty color. That's a really nice color for outdoor work. And there's a nice brown in here too. And I have discovered that I kind of can't get enough brown markers. It's kind of a greenish brown. Yeah, we likey. Oh, those are nice. A couple of colored pencils. No, these are graphites. It looks like brown and graphite are the two colors. Lovely, very good. This is their mechanical pencil. I'm really excited to try this because, as y'all know, if you've watched me long enough, I had a love affair with mechanical pencils, and then I was replacing them and they were getting worse. And I can't figure out what's happened, if I've just messed up what size I was ordering. This is the perfect Tombow mono drawing pen, and I'm really curious about him because I've been doing some work on sketching. I'm doing going through the lessons of a sketchbook, how-to sketchbook that I bought, and this is really a lot of people's favorite urban sketch pen. So I was really, and I do like it too, but I was really curious to try the Tombow version just because I have been so happy with all of their pens in general. So there's that set. And will I keep this foam in here and keep this in place? Probably not. In fact, what is more likely is that I will actually add some things to this, like a couple of my Blackwing pencils, which I just had them all out. my favorite sketching pen. But because I'm doing so much sketch now and working through that sketching how-to book, I kind of want a sketch collection. Like this is the stuff that works best for that versus for watercolor. So yeah, here's the book I'm working out of, Pen and Ink Drawings, and I'm just following his lessons. Really, his kind of how-tos. Let me see if I can tell you. I'm really early into it. I just started going through some basic techniques, including scribbling, which I love and is harder than it looks. But I've been working on this cross hatching page. See how he did this skyline with just all cross hatch? So I've been working on practicing some of that work. It's really fun, believe it or not. So getting into more really specific sketching, a really specific sketch collection of tools is going to be valuable to me. So I'm super excited about that. And it just felt like something I couldn't find easily on my own. I would never find here. And it felt I had an immediate purpose for it, right? Like I knew exactly what I was going to do with it. So that is that set. So that is everything that I bought. And if that's what you came here to see, thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to check in another time. If you subscribe and hit notifications, you won't miss my posts. They aren't like at a set time or day, so they just happen when they happen. If you want to stick around, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the show and how I managed to maintain a budget, how what my thinking was to set the budget, and some thoughts I have about this kind of hugely overstimulating shopping experience, how we can navigate those. And I'll also share my thoughts about going back to the show next year. Spoiler, I want to. Okay, so let's do some face to face and just catch up a little bit, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it. But Florida Stationery Fest, if you happen to live in Florida and this video goes up today on the 30th, don't forget they're still open tomorrow. You could get out there. Yeah. So let's do some face to face and catch up. Hey, so I hope you enjoyed the overhead. My chair's stuck. Let's unstick my chair. So, the show. I will definitely go back to the show again next year. What I'll tell you about the location is that it is about 2.5 hours from my front door. So my friend Sue lives about 50 minutes south of me anyway. So I drove south and she left her house and just parked at a restaurant right off the highway. So I was able to swoop in, pick her up, and then we carried on. So it was about 45 minutes to her. And then I had another, I mean, hour and 15 minutes or something like that, hour and a half to the venue itself. So it's a bit of a drive. And so, and if you know anything about Orlando, you know that that is not an easy place to drive through. You have to have your wits about you. We go past the Daytona International Speedway. The big Harley Davidson drop off is there. That exchange and all of that stuff is so busy anyway. And then you get on I-4, and I-4 is notorious, right? And you take it straight through downtown Orlando to get where we were going. So it's on the other side of downtown. Yeah, I mean, it's an investment in time to drive there. So we got to the show, and it's in a hotel that's attached to a mall. And that hotel used to be the Embassy Suites. My husband and I stayed there, gosh, 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And they were so lovely inside. We went in and just asked the main desk where the show was. It was a ballroom not too far to the right. And we went. The people handing out your lanyards, I was looking to see if I had mine around. And check your tickets were so friendly and efficient and fast. They were obviously excited to be there. They were obviously excited about this show. I brought a backpack with me that was mostly empty. You can imagine why. And I wondered if there would be a security check or something. I didn't have to worry about that. They give you your lanyard and your card to put in your lanyard that says, like my name is. But then over to the right, they direct you. There's a table, several tables laid out with markers and pens and stickers, and you can decorate your lanyard. So write your own name in. and then put a few stickers on. And then right around the corner from that was a table that said "Take one, leave one." And so there were a lot of stickers and ATC cards and things like that. And you could take what you wanted and then just leave an equal amount behind. That was really fun to get started. And then basically we just walked right inside the venue, and whew, there was a lot of people. It was the first day. It was around, at this point, maybe 10:45 in the morning, so they'd only been open for an hour and 45 minutes. So it was kind of definitely the big rush, but there wasn't a real line to get in. I mean, when I think we were behind 6 or 7 people. There might have been lines earlier, and they definitely had it set up so that if there were lines, it would queue up nicely. Just keep that in mind. I could see there being lines. I think it would be worth having a bottle of water or a cup of coffee if you were going to have to wait. We didn't. Anyway, we get in and we both kind of just went, whoa, there's a lot happening here. So we decided that what we would do is walk the entirety of the show without any intention of purchases. Let's just walk and see what's happening here. Um, and that is exactly what we did. We just were like, oh, wax melts. I love those. And she has brass presses for them. Oh, look, stencils. We're looking for stencils. We'll come back to her. You know what I mean? It was just kind of like taking it in. So, one thing I want to share with you is that I did have a budget figured out for this in pretty general terms. It wasn't like it needed to be to the penny. What I'll say is I had a max. How about that? I didn't want to spend more than 250 at this show. Okay, take a breath. I know that that's not a small amount of money. But what I want to say about a trade show of this size, when you travel to spend, I think you have to be realistic about um, about your budget. Let's just say that. Whatever it's going to be. If it's going to be $75 or 1,000, that's entirely your choice. The way that we all spend is our own personal thing. It's like me trying to tell you what donut to pick. That is your business, girl. You decide. I know what I'm going for. You go for you. The way that, okay, so I'm a knitter and I've been to several knit fests in my life. And what those are to me is, yes, they are fun community. It's neat to be around other knitters and see other projects and see other things, but it's also really comes down to traveling to spend money. And I had to pay attention to what that felt like to me. If I felt overly tempted, did I spend too quickly? Did I spend too much? What did that really feel like to me? And I went to a couple big festivals a few years ago. I went to Maryland Sheep and Wool, and then I went to New York Sheep and Wool, which is Rhinebeck. And let me tell you what, those trips required a lot of mental preparation on my end. I was traveling with people that, in both occasions, actually, I was traveling with people that, two important things. One did not have a budget. Their finances weren't limited the way that mine are, or at least their spending for their art supplies is a different style than mine is. And they were going to essentially buy what they saw. If they loved it, they bought it. And I needed to watch out that I didn't somehow feel, one, beholden to that behavior, like that I needed to keep up with that, you know? And two, I also didn't want to be influenced by it. Like, yeah, they're buying 5 sweater quantities worth of yarn. I should probably do that too. And to get really clear with myself before I left. But the other thing about some of the people I was traveling with on both of those trips is they own knit based companies, which means they also can buy an enormous amount of stuff, and I'm sure they could write it off as testing yarns or trying a new line. Do you know what I mean? I don't have that option with yarns for sure. So, what I say about those two shows is they taught me how to be careful in those very over hyper stimulating spaces where everyone is just spend, spend, spend. It almost has like an urgency to it when you get there. And it also feels a little like a casino. Like, and then I think there's also this like, oh my gosh, are they going to sell out? Are they going to sell out? Are they going to sell out? So I've been working on a budget and a shopping list, like what I actually wanted to find at a stationery show that I could not easily find here, for a few months. I've been really thinking it out. And my birthday is in 2 weeks. Hear me out, because this is part of how I budgeted this day. So, because the reason I'm sharing this is I know that a lot of people wonder, especially when they watch YouTubers. I know I do, and they do these haul videos. There's this one woman that I really like, but my gosh, like she did her haul from her Japan trip and her haul from her France trip within like 4 months of each other. And I'm thinking, we got we got different budgets and incomes is what I'm going to suggest. A trip to France would not be in the same year as a trip to Japan for us, budget wise, energy wise. Yeah. So, yeah, don't you watch those and just kind of wonder sometimes, like, wait, should I be doing that? Should I not be doing that? Anyway, so I'm sharing with you how I figured out my budget for something like this because I'm always curious. And I don't think a lot of YouTubers get really clear about how they decide what they're going to spend. So I've been thinking about this for a few months. On my birthday every year, what my husband and I do is he drives me up to Town Center, which is our really good mall up in Jacksonville, and lets me just go in and buy a few things that I wouldn't normally in kind of an impulse situation. So something that might be a little pricier that I've been holding out for. Yeah. So often it is like shoes or bags, you know what I mean? Like a little pricier. And I had in my head this year that for my birthday town center trip, one of the things I wanted to purchase is a bottle of Chloe perfume, and it is anywhere between 225 and 275 depending on who's selling it. So as the date drew nearer to this stationery fest and I was paying attention to, my Amex bill, our monthly expenses, what bills are due, what's coming up, and looking at my birthday and thinking, you know what? Do I need an all day shopping day in Orlando and then an expensive shopping day at Town Center on my birthday? What if we just let me take that budget and stick it towards this day? And then it's not extra. Yeah. So that's what I did. I just said, Chloe perfume will have to wait yet another year. I've been holding off with the label in my bag for a year and a half, and I am waiting again. It's going to have to wait. I decided to spend the Chloe perfume money at the stationery show. So that's where the number like 250 kind of came into my head, but I knew I would be happy if I could pull that back even a little bit more. So we walk in and it is overwhelm. Wow. And this sense of urgency did hit me. And I said, Andrea, they are an hour and 50 minutes into a 3-day shopping weekend. They're not going to run out of anything. You're okay. Whoop, sorry. You're okay. Then I took a look and realized at a glance, I'm going to say 1/4 to 1/3 of the vendor products available were fountain pens. And I said in that moment, that's that. Fountain pens are off the table today. We're not going to look at them. We're not going to hold them, and we're not going to talk about them. That's that. There is no way I was going to be like, either I could blow my entire budget on a pen, $175 to $250 easily, even if I got two less expensive pens, so two Twisbys coming out at 120 and decided to buy a couple inks, right? Like, is that where you want to go? I just realized I needed to make a choice about these. And I decided this was the stationery fest for me, not the pen fest. And so I took pens out of my brain as an option, and it immediately eliminated a third of the floor because some of these booths were nothing but pens and some of these booths were nothing but inks. Gone. Don't need to pause, don't need to flip through, don't need to spend time there. And that really helped with the overstimulation and the overwhelm to just in my mind just block that out. You know what I mean? Gone. So then I focused on just taking it all in, who's got what. And then as I kind of moved my way through, I would really look at things and think, that's pretty, but don't you already have 4? We don't need to come back over here. Those are cool. I wanted stamps. Stamps were on my list of things. And the one person I saw that had not those acrylic board stamps, you know what I'm talking about. I still don't really fully understand how to use those. I've played with it a little bit, but I'm talking about a wooden back stamp with a rubber piece of art on the front. That's what I wanted. And I only found one vendor who really had those that he had done himself. It was his own artwork and it was beautiful. And it was absolutely not what I'm looking for, which is fine. It was kind of Japanese illustration. It gave me a little bit of an anime vibe, but it was his own style. It was very cool and not anything I would ever stamp or put into my own collage or journal style. And I think that's another thing that's really worth paying attention to at these moments, because it's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of this is one of a kind, the artist is here. But yeah, but who are you buying this for? If you are buying it for a friend who will love this, cool. If you're buying it for you just because it happens to be here, I don't want to invest 35, 45, 50 bucks in stamps that then sit on this table and never get used, even if it's supporting an artist. You know what I mean? So I was careful about that kind of thing. And yeah, like I said, it just helped me sort of eliminate. And then we just went back through and hit up the stuff that was actually on my list, my shopping list. So the first thing that we bought was a stencil with stars on it, because that was on my list. I've talked about it to you guys here many times when we do reviews in my reading journal. The stars in the stencil I have in that reading journal are too little. I can't even get my actual pen nib in in them, depending on the pen that I'm using. So that's why we went to this gal. She's linked below, and she's the maker, and she was there. That's the other thing I love about these kinds of shows. You know, she was there. You could ask her questions. So I showed you this in the overhead. So we got this one and this smaller one. And these were a gift from my friend Sue to me for driving us down there. So that was really sweet of her. She does have a coupon in there for a show special. I don't think I need anything else from her, but it would be worth taking a look at that one more time. And then let's see, after we went to her, the next thing that we saw was the stationery. That was all the Italian stationery. Florentina is the name. I've bought that stationery many times in my lifetime from very high-end stationery shops when I'm traveling. And it just wasn't on my list today, but that's who had the writing pad. And so he and I just had a really fun conversation. I loved those. I now wish I'd bought a stack of them as gifts, but I have his contact info, as you do too, in the description. If you're a friend of mine and you buy one of those writing pads, you need to tell me that so I don't end up sticking it in your Christmas package this year. So I will probably order a few. I think they're really cool. Um, he and I had a funny conversation about writing surfaces, and I told him a story that I'm going to share with you now, which is that when I was in high school, I was a basketball cheerleader in my high school. We didn't have a football team. Our school was super tiny, and we would travel around with the players. And there was a gym we used to go to. I think it might have been in Brunswick, Georgia. I'm not entirely sure, and the gym had a rubber floor. Now, if you remember those from the 70s and 80s, please comment here that I am not crazy. But this gym had a rubber floor, and it was the rubber. Do you remember the surface, the feeling of the surface of the side of your tennis shoes if you ever had Chucks? That smooth rubber, you know what I'm talking about? That's what that gym floor was made of. I think Ked's tennis shoes had that same smooth side on them. When we would go there for basketball games, the whole time, all I could think about is if I were a billionaire, I would pay to be alone in this gym with a ballpoint pen. Did you ever write on the side of your tennis shoes with a ballpoint pen? Do you remember that sensation? It was I've never forgotten that gym. I'm 50, I'm about to be 55 years old. I think I was 14 when I was cheering in that gym. That writing pad gave me that vibe big time. It's so gushy and smooth, but also the right resistance. So that was our next purchase. And how much was that, by the way? That was $20. I don't know how much these were because Sue bought them for me. I think they were probably together, they would have been close to 18 bucks for the two. That purchase was 20. Then I went down to another stencil maker who I showed you guys. She also has some other cool things for journals. I want you to check her out if you're interested. She was so lovely. And that's where I got the numbers and letters stencils. But she had that one card that was every size star. And by this time, Sue and I have had our conversation about the fact that we both discovered we cannot draw a star to save our lives, no matter what. So I thought that was fun. And I bought Sue one of those. So I spent there 10, 20, 30. I think my ring out there, 8 was $40. So 40 bucks, 20 bucks, and nothing because Sue gave me those. That's how far in I am at this point. And I decided to go down to Sam Flax because I'd already We'd already looked over all of their stuff, but I knew that that was a place that was going to get the majority of my budget on this day, unless I made one kind of big, sort of unexpected purchase, like a pen or something. I knew that Sam Flax would get a hold of my money because art supplies are just so important to me and really hard to find here. And that is when I got and I looked and looked. Oh, did they have so many things? I'm putting a picture of their table back in again so you can see it. And so I got the Tombow Urban Sketch Pen. My friend Paula gifted me, as she was doing a clean out, a book that's essentially an urban sketch how to that's sketch in watercolor. It's small. They had those books there at Sam Flax, but I knew I already had it. So I'm going to keep that with this kit too. Um, what else did we get? Oh, we got the travel kit from Winsor Newton. And again, this has less to do with travel, although I will take this with me out to the marsh. It has less to do with travel and more to do with kind of being a sample size of these paints that aren't the tube form. I'm curious to see how I feel about these, and I'm curious about this brand. So while this is a travel kit and I can use it that way, it's also a sample kit. So I'm really excited about that. That was my Sam Flax purchase, y'all. They did have Lystrom notebooks in A4, big, but they were ruled. They didn't have any that were dot grid or blank. If they had, they would have gotten another, gosh, those were pricey, $55. They would have gotten another 55 or $60 from me for that. So this was 30, this was 40, so I was already out 70 at Sam Flax. Um, then I went over and found this lovely company, and he's the one who had the loose sheets, Toma River paper, my A5 Japanese paper. I think it might be a Midori. And then that big black guy for my A4. So I have a notebook because, by the way, another reason I wanted a big, really nice quality A4 for my Sandy by the Lakeside leather cover is because eventually that Paper Republic planner will be done, but the cover won't be, will it? I don't know if I'll repeat that planner next year. I might not. What I'd like to be doing is sampling notebooks that are fit for that cover so that if I decide not to do that big planner, I would know that I want a couple of notebooks and what style to go into that cover in the future. So that was partly why I did that. And yeah, so that was that. Then let's see, we walked over to Lauren Phelps where all of the washi is, but her line was still just so long. So then at that point, we just kind of walked around and looked at things. There was a pen vendor who had a Benu mini that I've been looking at online, and it was really cool to be able to pick that up and realize I don't want it. It's too small. And so I'm glad I checked that out. But no, basically at that point, we just kind of wandered a little bit, waiting for the line to die down at Lauren Phelps. And then we went over to Jen and bought our washi from her. And Sue was really interested in more of her artwork too. They had a conversation. Lauren Phelps' line died down. I went over to Lauren Phelps to get my washi, and she stayed and talked to Jen about some gift items and where she can find things for gifts. Sue lives in New York sometimes and Florida sometimes. So I think the Florida theme as like a gift and cards and stuff is very appealing to her. I'm guessing here, but that's why I think she stuck around and talked to her for extra. But plus, Jen was lovely and her stuff is beautiful. So I spent $18 at Jen's, and then I went to Lauren Phelps and got my stack of the simplest washi in the history of washi. And that was around 27. I don't have a calculator, but I think I stuck pretty close to my 200 mark. It might have been a little over 225, something like that. I was there for 2 hours. And I was totally done at that point. I knew two things. One, I'd hit my budget. I didn't want to stick around and start randomly tacking things in because I can do that. Like, I think I've done what I want to do. And then I start, well, there's this, but also, and I'm only here one day. I just wanted to be done with that. Also, it's very overstimulating. It's a very tiring space for me. So I need to take breaks. Even if we had planned to stick around for a class or something, we would have probably gone to lunch someplace quiet and then gone to a class. I just, that level of noise. And then let's see, also we had a 2.5 hour ride home, and it was also about to start storming pretty good throughout Florida. So I knew we'd be hitting a lot of rain and therefore traffic. So we just kind of headed right back out. I didn't get to run into any of Mitzi's paper girlies, although I knew that they were there. So I was bummed about that, but it was time for us to just go ahead and hit the road. What we did figure out this time is that we will definitely go back next year. And here's what we're thinking about next year. We're thinking we would go down um, Thursday and maybe go in early enough to like get some lunch, do a little bit of shopping. Then Thursday, as people are coming in for the show, there'll be some meetups and we could have, dinner or coffee and some journal time with some people that are going to be at the show. Then Friday, take a class. We could either take a 9 o'clock class and go to the show at 11:30 until about 1:30, and then we would drive home. Or we would do 11:30 class, and so we'd go to the show from 9 to 11:30, go take our class, and then at 1:30 drive home. So it's not like we're committing to a 5-day weekend here and multiple hotel nights and things like that. But I think just giving us that padded entry of the night before and then in the morning having a couple windows for some classes and also some shopping. So that's our plan for next year. We're both 100% on board for it. I want to say that the people who put the show together, I will link their video in the description box as well. That just sort of explains this is the first one, the three people who kind of partnered together to get this thing off the ground. And then she highlights some of the vendors. So I just want to say they did a great job as far as I'm concerned. I've been to a lot of shows, like I said, yarn festivals and things like that, independent yarn festivals that sit outside of the major yarn festivals. I have been to a lot of conventions through the Culinary Federation as a professional chef for 25 years. A lot of my time was spent at these kinds of shows all over the country. And I think it was incredibly well run. The idea that this is their first time doing it is astounding to me. If I didn't hear her say that, there's no reason I would have guessed it. It was so smoothly run and just very well thought out. I'll say that there were very little repeats in the vendors, which is tricky to do because it's stationary. Like, you're isn't there going to be washi everywhere? No. I mean, there was Lauren Phelps, who does what she does. And then there were a few others that did their own design, that were their own graphics, their own anime, their own, right? Even Jen had some really beautiful washi, and I will definitely, of smaller washi, I mean. And I will definitely order some of those at some point. But like her washi, these big artistic pieces, that's so unique and different. And then as far as the actual stationery, like the paper and the pads that I bought, he's the only one I saw with those. The Florentine, there was one person with that line of stationery. There was a station next to Lauren Phillips that had all kinds of Hobonichi inserts. Listen, I was already done. I'd spent my budget and I did not know that was going to be there. So I hadn't planned for that. I will plan for that next year, because Hobonichi shipping, as you know, is through the roof. And yes, you can get some Hobonichi products from Jet Pens and various other people, but wouldn't it be nice to have them right in front of you? So they had Travelers and Hobonichi like mad, passport inserts, TN inserts, or TN standard inserts, and lots of cousin. I could just see a glimpse of it, but she had a line, as you can imagine, it was a really busy table. Um, yeah, there were just a lot of different things. One of the things that was on my list, and I think I lost my list by the end of the day. Let me see if I can find it for you. But one of the things was I wanted to look at those toolboxes that all the cool online YouTubers love. It starts with a T. Do you know that toolbox I'm talking about? It's metal. There was a vendor who had them. So that was exciting to see because it's such a super trendy product. And I just don't know where on earth I would ever find them other than online. And I feel like a toolbox is a hard thing to buy online. If you haven't seen them for yourself to know how they pull out, how long they are, how deep they are, I am not good at that kind of thing. When they throw those measurements up on a website, that does not, my brain does not compute that. So it was nice to see them. That is something that did not, when I did the first walkthrough and saw that they were there, just looking at them, I just went, you know what? This isn't on your list today. This feels a little buying because it's popular right now versus buying because you need it. So I just shelved it. If I want one down the road, I know where I can get them. So, have you been to a stationery fest? How did it feel to you? What did you think about the noise and the stimulation and the way they set it up? How did you feel about budgeting? Were you able to do it? And what are your tips and tricks, if you have them, about that? When I went to the the wool and sheep festivals in Maryland and New York, I'm really not kidding that I did a lot of sort of mind time before I traveled, a lot of imprinting about what it was going to feel like to be in that space, how tempting certain things were going to be, and a reminder to myself that two things are true. Um, I'll feel better if I stick with a budget, but I could buy whatever I wanted. I just don't love overspending and I don't love being in debt. That's me. Some people don't mind. Max out a few cards at a festival and pay on it for the next year. It's just not my version of joy. It weighs me down. So I know that I'll feel better if I budget, and just remind myself before I get into those kinds of spaces. The energy that comes in a sort of mass spend situation like that, I think is easy to be swept up in if you aren't super cognizant. And so for me, I just had to be really focused and really true to what made the most sense. It was going to bring me the most joy. What I did not want to do was walk out of there with buyer's remorse in the end. And I absolutely did not. Everything I bought fit in my little backpack. I felt like that was a pretty good sign. um, and it's no judgment. Like the people that I traveled with, those yarn festivals, the amount of yarn they bought, uh, not only is it no judgment, if my finances were set up differently or I felt differently about like credit card purchases myself, I'm not saying they went into debt. I'm saying for me, I would have to slap that stuff on a credit card and pay it off. If I felt okay with that, I would have done it. It's just not my bag. It's not what I love. And they were having the time of their lives. And I also think they're a lot more prolific knitters than I am. I think they're going to get through every bit of it. That those purchases kind of staring back at me a couple years later, still untouched, would cause me issues. And I just know that. Be true to yourself, be true to your budget, be true to what matters the most to you and will bring you the most joy. Watch out for the energy that sweeps you up and says, bye, bye, bye. They're going to run out. It's a chance only. And then also, because this industry is growing so quickly and there's such a presence online for it now, I think just being really clear about what we're being influenced into versus inspired into. And I think there's a big difference between influence and inspire. And like that toolbox, as I stood there looking at it, I thought, this feels like influence, not inspire. I have lots of tool boxes and tins and containers. I feel a little influenced about this being in my hand right now because ultimately, without having watched a video about how beautiful and stunning and yada, yada, yada they were, I would have never even known they existed. Um, and I really like the toolboxes at Home Depot. So there's that. Um, Let me know what you thought about this video. And next video, I'm sharing with you the summer camp. That is going to happen in the next few days because camp starts for me on June 8th. And I want you to be able to consider some of my layout, schedule, itinerary plans, and thoughts prior to that date so that if you want to join along and camp with me, you're welcome to do so. Okay. I hope you're having a wonderful Saturday and we'll see you soon. Thanks for being here.